Combining knitting and sewing has quite a few advantages. In this case, we get to decide on the trim and add a little bit of design pizzazz after the knitting is complete and after I decided what else was going to go with the cardigan. This little sweater could use a little bit of trim to brighten it up, and I thought that this rickrack was perfect, but it's not regular rickrack. This is really made for embellishing underwear. And because it's so nice and stretchy, it will sew to the knit and not impact its ability to stretch and behave like a normal sweater should, which is important because the newborn is not going to be concerned about maintaining her clothes. That's on us. So let's see how to sew it on. The ends of this stuff don't really fray, but you may turn it under for neatness if you want to, and start with it doubled at the very bottom. I'm setting my zigzag stitch to a width of 2 out of 4 and the stitch length to a length of 2 out of 4. And the foot pressure is low. I'll have to help ease the fabric through, especially at the beginning here where it's thick. The thing is, if you use a high foot pressure, there is a tendency for it to stretch the fabrics, and we want neither one of them to stretch, and not to stretch or change with reference to one another. So I'll put fingertips once I've aligned them to hold them in place. Pins would be okay, but you would also have to move them out of the way rapidly because trying to knit over them and sew rickrack on is not the best plan. The key to success here is to work very slowly. If your machine has a setting that will keep the motor at a slow speed, use it. Freehand is really not that difficult, but if it drives you crazy to try, there is such a thing as basting glue. It's a glue stick that washes out easily and isn't sticky, and it's available usually in quilting supplies and fabric stores. When you get to the corner like this, of course, we need to turn the corner. So you see me easing in enough extra trim to make a nice, neat corner turn. Now, at the neckline, things are going to get a little bit different because we're going around a curve rather than up a vertical. We'll need to continue easing, and it's not as easy to keep that curve lying down. What you see me using to help ease is like a giant yarn needle. Anything that would get in there and poke without making holes would be fine. I just happen to have this handy. In case you really are dying to have the same exact tool, it's really a button needle for upholstery work. But any sort of pointy thing that has some distance that you can create a fingertip right there under the needle without risking your own, plus it's skinnier than your own, can be a help in easing around the curve. Again, go slowly. Make sure the foot pressure is low. Another thing I haven't mentioned is that I do not use the needles that say they're designed for knits. There are an assortment of reasons that they're not ideal for projects where we're putting things, embellishment onto machine knits or sewing machine knits together. I use a regular sharp needle of a light to medium weight, and that works better on most machines. Now we ease around another corner and on down the front of the sweater. It's super important that the second half match the first half in length, so give special attention to using the same degree of easing and non-stretching that you used up the other front. Otherwise, it'll really show and look awkward, and you will have to take it off and do it again. You just won't be happy. When we get to the bottom, I'm going to snip off the trim, allowing enough to turn under so that the two sides match and both lower edges have a neat folded finish. Just like that. Now, one of the trickiest things of the whole project is making sure that folded edge gets tucked under and stitched. Anytime you have to stop the machine, try to make sure that your needle is down, particularly if you're making any turns. There we go. Under it goes. And we're there. A tiny bit of my rickrack stuck out of one side, but I can get to it with the snips, trim it away, and it looks fine. And here's the finished product. Cute, huh? It should still be completely washable, as is suitable for an infant garment. And it's very securely sewn, which is really important because we don't want to add a choking hazard to an otherwise safe and adorable garment. If you both knit and sew, you may enjoy my book, Knitting and Sew On, which is full of techniques about making the most of the two skills combined. There's really no shame in it. In fact, it makes perfect sense. Here's the table of contents to let you know what to expect in the book. It's available at theanswerlady.com as an instant download.